All right, everybody. This is the Boxing Source live here with the midweek report. And we got our special guest here with us, the two-time super middleweight champion of the world, Mr. Anthony the Dog Dirrell. What's going on, fam?
Hey, what's going on with you?
Oh man, I'm doing good, doing good. Looks like you're on the move and out and about right now.
Yeah. I had to pick up something from somewhere, man. But yeah, I had to stop, man, to talk to you guys. You know, I keep my appointments, so I stop until so I can talk to you guys.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. So we got our guest here with us with of course, a record of 33 wins, two losses and two draws. But I say it should be at least 35 wins. Going off a couple of those fights that you had. We'll
Yeah.
get into that a little bit. But what's been going on with you here as of right now?
Just trying to get ready for for another fight. My teams are in the works for something big, so I'm just waiting on the go ahead to go to camp and get ready. I stay in the gym, so I don't when I get there, it'll be a little bit easier for me to get ready for who I got.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, a good while ago, I took the time to, interview your brother there, Andre Dirrell, and he is over down in the Florida area, but you're still up in Flint, Michigan, right?
Yep, I'm still there. Outside of Flint, I'm not really in Flint. Outside of Flint, but I'm really close to it.
Yeah, gotcha. So you still be able to do your thing and, get your training done and all of that over in that area.
Yep, for sure. I got a gym of my own, so I'm private.
I feel you. Yeah, usually with that, you could pretty much just go in there anytime you want to. Like even if it's like 2 in the morning, you could just be like, you could get up and you'll be like right there in the gym.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and that was why I did it. To do that. I should be able to go to the gym anytime I want, and I can.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Now, going into, what's going on, this year. I know that you had a fight earlier this year against Kyron Davis. It ended up being a draw. I talked to you a little bit after that fight. I mean, that was a disappointing thing there from the judges, because it looked like you were getting the better of Kyron Davis in that particular fight.
Yeah, I think I won a fight. I think I dictated the pace the whole fight. It was even a round that I wanted him to come forward, so I didn't move forward like I wanted to. I think that was the ninth round. But I mean, it is what it is. You take it how it come, man. Everybody knows boxing, and everybody know boxing sometimes give raw deals. I think I got one there, but we just keep our head up and keep fighting and move on to the next opponent. He doesn't do anything for me. He was just really a tune-up fight. He knew he lost the fight. But like I say, it is what it is. I just move on from there.
Yeah, and given what was on stake for that particular fight, that was kind of like a WBC title eliminator of some sort.
Yeah.
So, with that being the draw, it kind of like leaves things up in the air as far as like where you are positioned as a contender for the WBC title.
I mean, it doesn't matter. They can put you wherever they want to put you. The guy I beat, Abner Yildirim, for the title, he was number one after I beat him. So they do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. If they wanted me number one right now, I'll be number one, regardless of if I got to draw the next fight. And that's just how the cookie crumbles, man. They got a lot of say so in this in the belts because they own it, but it shouldn't be like that. It should be, if you do something bad or if you get stripped of the title or you lose, you go back down. I'm not saying all the way back down, but you go down. And that's how it should be. I went down after my loss to Benavidez, so how come Abner Yildirim didn't?
Yeah, and Abner Yildirim didn't even have a fight.
After that, right.
And then they just say, hey, you know what? You go ahead and be the mandatory, and he ends up winning the fight against Canelo Alvarez. So I mean, that's a little crazy situation. But back to what you're doing there, in your career. Like I said, you're pretty much there contending in the super middleweight division. And you see that it's very busy right now with all of those contenders there and champions, former champions. So how are you looking to like get back into that world title picture?
I want Caleb Plant. I keep saying it. I don't think he has fought nobody credible but Uzgatagi, and but I think I want him. That's a good fight, especially if they can't make the Canelo fight. I think the fight makes sense. Who else would he fight? I mean, let's put up a test, man. Let's see what you really got. He haven't fought nobody, and I'll stick to that forever. I'm ready to fight him if he ready to fight.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like I think y'all had a common opponent, and you were able to get that opponent out within one round, while
Yep.
he took about all 12 rounds to go through his opponent, and that was Caleb Truax. So
Yep.
like
And I'm not saying he was supposed to knock the guy out. The styles make fights. Everybody know every fighter is different, and every fighter brings something to the table different. We don't know Caleb Plant as a knockout puncher. So he didn't get the knockout, but I think if he would have stepped on the gas a little bit more, he could have stopped him.
probably would have been the case, but you were able to, like I said, those years ago, you were able to jump on Caleb Truax and get him out of there, pretty much
Yep.
within one round. But that would be a very interesting fight there against Caleb Plant, particularly if they, have the thing there with Canelo Alvarez fall apart. That would be a definitely good fight for you to get, and you'd be right there in the world title picture with a shot of being a world champion once again.
Exactly, and that's what I want, man. I'm 36-year-old. I'll be 37 in October. I'm one of the oldest at the top of the super middleweight division, so I can't afford to fight nonsense fights. I need to fight some fight that's gonna mean something, and that's what I want.
Yeah, you got to be able to be at least either put into position to fight for a world title, or be right there in a world title fight, because outside of that, it's almost like, what's the point?
Yep, I agree. I agree with you. Like I say, I'm getting older. I'm not getting younger. The time is passing me, and there's younger people coming up in the game, and I'm not gonna stay around and get messed up in the head fighting them.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, going into like your previous fights there, like particularly with that Abner Yildirim fight, you were able to do your thing and execute and whatnot, but it was only that you had that little cut, but it kind of like goes into your never stop attitude. Like you wanted to keep going and keep going. You wanted that fight to finish out.
Yeah, I did, and I think a lot of people thought I quit in the corner, and that was not the case. I told them, don't stop it, not stop it. I wanted to keep fighting regardless of cut or not. I'm a warrior. We get in the ring knowing that it's a possibility that we get cut, that we get knocked down, but you don't quit. You keep fighting, and that's why boxing is so tough, because we keep fighting as warriors, and want to finish the fight and get a fans a good fight.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like going into your history there, during your career, or, before your pro career. Of course, you're a cancer survivor, and, you also had the little incident with a motorcycle injury where
Yeah.
you had like a, broken arm and a broken leg. And then, you were still able to get off of that and still be able to get back in the ring. And even at the time when you were going through therapy for the cancer, you were training.
Definitely. I mean, like I say, I'm just no quitter. If I start something, I set my mind to it, I want to finish it. And that's always been my mentality. Uh, I think especially me and Danny, coming off cancer, you can't say we're not Hall of Famers. You can't say we're not great, because we beat the biggest battle of our career, and that's cancer. And then to come back and add, whipped cream onto that, we won a championship, two of them. So it's a blessing to even say that I won a championship, let alone two after cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we have something here on the live chat here. Question here is from Gene Thomas. Who would you favor in '68 if it was Canelo Alvarez or David Benavidez?
That's a tough one. My guess, I think David Benavidez. I think he's much longer. Uh, he's quick. But Canelo, you can't count out Canelo. Canelo is he a warrior. I think that'll be a great fight, a hell of a fight for the fans to see. I, if I had to pick, it probably would be Benavidez by a slim margin.
Yeah, I mean that was like one fight that I kind of like talked about a little bit with Canelo there, 168 pounds. That if he did fight David Benavidez, that he might be give Canelo some trouble there. But we're trying to get you in that particular position there against Canelo Alvarez, so we shouldn't really worry about David Benavidez at this
Yeah,
particular
not
point.
at all.
Let's see if we can get Anthony Dirrell up there in there against Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
For the time being. But going into your previous fights, what would you say is the fight that you point to that was the most satisfying as far as like getting the victory?
Uh, I have to say Abner Yildirim because he talks so much crap, man, and he just so arrogant. It was. I don't like him. I'm not gonna say hate because hate is such a strong word, but I just don't like him as a person, as a fighter. I don't like him at all. Like it's just I don't know if it's where he comes from and stuff, but he need to carry himself different. It's a business at the end of the day. I have no enemies in boxing until we get in the ring. But outside of the ring, I'm cool. I don't have no problem with it. But he was a straight dumb man. Like he was just terrible, man. And it just make me not like him and get the victory over him. It was just meant so much.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I guess he was coming in there getting a little bit too arrogant, talking too much trash or something like that. So that gave you
Yeah.
extra motivation to, get in the ring and beat him up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
feel you. Feel you. Now, being in that, that area, the Flint, Michigan area, there's like a lot of history there in Flint, Detroit, and things like that when it comes to the sport of boxing. Who would you say that you looked up to from that area in the sport of boxing?
And just in boxing in general, and any like
It could
like
be any.
I mean, who I looked up to. I mean, it's a few people. I just can't name one because if you watch boxing, you watch boxing. You got Pernell Whitaker, you got Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. I mean, it's so many people that I looked up to and that did it, man. That's just great. And for me to even put my name just by theirs just because I won a championship is wonderful, man. It's a blessing.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, like I said, being in that Detroit area, of course, you got like Kronk Gym and other well-known places there for the sport of boxing. Like, what is it like working in that particular area as far as like training and sparring against those come through that area?
You talking about here in Michigan?
Yeah.
I don't really train here. I think I had a couple camps here, and we brought people in, or I'll box with people that's there. I boxed Andy Lee at Kronk Gym before. Uh, I boxed K9 Bundrers at Kronk Gym before. It just all depends. Jalen Love we boxed before, but it just all depends. I mean, and them all people who did something in the sport. So it just all depends on if we flying them in or if they're just here. But them the guys that I box here, and my brother. You can't forget about him. Uh, it's just it was an honor to share the ring with him, even if it's you know sparring.
What's it like, doing that with your brother there, Andre? At times, whether it's there in your gym or even if you're like over in Florida where he currently resides. Like, how is it like training and working with your brother?
I mean, it's great. We feed off each other. We teach each other a lot of things, tricks, what we need to do, and it's just he's like a trainer, and I'm like one to him because we see the stuff that we need to do from the outside. So we got to execute it when we get in the ring. That's where we need to do it in the gym. So we can, like I said, we can execute it when we get in the ring.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. With that being said, it's like you learn different things, different tricks of the trade when it comes to, either sparring or working with your trainer and things like that. But what could you say is something that you have learned over the past few years that you didn't learn when you were starting out as a professional?
Just take my time, man. In professional, you really got to be composed in there, and if you're not, it's going to show at the end. So be composed and take your time and work on what you need to work on. I mean, work on what you worked on in the gym. I mean, that's what you're in the gym for, to work on a plan to beat the guy that's in front of you. And if I can give myself, my younger self, that info, I would.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Now, going to some other things that I kind of like, talk about with some guests. This is like one random question that I threw out there. If you have like a book that you kind of point to as a book that you read that really like either inspired you or it just stood out to you, what was that book?
Probably the. I mean, if I had to say one now, it's David Goggins. I mean, because he was so relentless with his, I mean, just worth ethic and his mentality, man. He's a strong-willed person. If you can have that strong will as he got, then you really can't be defeated.
Gotcha, gotcha. I feel you. I feel you. Now, just looking ahead here, like you said, you kind of like called out Caleb Plant. See if you could get in the ring with him. Um, who else would kind of like be in your, um, like your hit list, so to speak?
Canelo. I mean, them are the top guys right now that got belts. Uh, them who I want to fight. I think them fights make sense. Uh, I mean, it just all depends on who they want to put in front of me. But I want a name. I want somebody that's there.
Yeah, and the thing with the super middleweight division, there's like various fighters that are out there, like you said, Canelo Plant Benavidez. I think Jacobs had, moved up to super middleweight as well.
Yeah.
So there's that too, also. But what do you think about that young up and comer, David Morrell? I know that he had like a fight a few weeks ago.
Yep.
He only
And
has like about
I
five
was at the.
professional fights.
Yep. I was at the fight. He can hit. I haven't seen too much of him, especially with the last fight. I think he knocked the guy out fairly quick. But he can hit, and everybody, and you see that. But you gotta see what you can do when you go into deep waters. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. Uh, because you can't knock everybody out. I learned that, and you just gotta know. You gotta see what he can do in the later rounds, because no one knows.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I feel you there. I feel you there. Because sometimes if you're not able to, execute what you need to execute off the rip, then you need a plan B or a plan
Yep.
C.
Yep.
And like you were saying, as far as like that you learned that you had to take your time in the ring. That's the thing about it is like if you're not able to, get the guys out of there, you got to see what's another strategy for you to be more successful against your opponent. It's
I
like a
agree.
chess match. Same about making moves in the chessboard. If that move didn't necessarily get you what you needed, then you got to see about getting somewhere else.
I agree. I damn sure agree.
You know. Um, One other question here is like, what do you see yourself doing probably after 3 years in the game, the next 3 years in the game?
You said the next 4 years.
Three.
I won't even be in the next 3 years. I mean, I'm 36 years old. I think, like I say, my time is coming to an end, man. It's sad for me because I've been doing it for a long time. But if I see it outside of boxing, marijuana is legal here in Michigan. Open a dispensary. I'm in the process of doing that now. I own a few houses. I own apartments, uh, and I wanna start a community center here. I want to give back to my community, to show them my appreciation for sure, and just to help the kids who don't have much out in this time of need.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've been a pro for it's been about 16 years,
Yeah,
you know.
long
So
time, man.
yeah, it's definitely a long time. Like very many, like a lot of professional fighters don't even make it one third of that, time length. So, you've had, what you've done in your career, and now you want to see if you could, give back to the community, after you've hung up those gloves. But you kind of like add to the legacy of those fighters that came out of Flint, Michigan. So, I mean, you do definitely have that, and people could look up to that.
Yeah, like it's tough coming out of here, especially the times that I did. But it's even rougher now because of the water crisis, and it just run down. GM's gone, so it's even rougher now. So that's why I want to, help give back and help uplift the city again.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't think people kind of know, or they kind of like forgot about, is they still having the issues there with the water. And like you said,
Yep,
with the motor industry, that was like one of the driving forces of bringing jobs to that area. And so with
yep.
that being out of the way, that kind of like cuts a lot of jobs and makes the economy really, really low in that area.
It is. It is like when once GM left, that was it. We couldn't do nothing about it. And that's why I want to help. And it's just not me. It's a lot of athletes that's here. Like Clarissa's here, my brother, Morris Peterson, Mateen Cleese, Charlie Bell, Miles Bridges. I can go on and on.
Yeah, remember the Flint? They
Everybody
call them
wants
the
to help.
Flintstones out there in Michigan State.
Yep, everybody wants to help, man. Uplift the city, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I feel you there. And just going back to the whole thing with what you got in coming up. Like you said, you got your own little gym, so it's almost like people could like give you a call and say, hey, this fight's coming up. Like if they like said, like for example, if it was like Caleb Plant, say for, I wouldn't say like September 18th, let's say September 25th, you
Yeah,
would say that you'll be able to jump on it, and like you said, you'll be able to just get right back in it and be in the gym and not have to worry about
definitely,
traveling nowhere or anything like that.
definitely. But I still would get out of here, just because there's so many distractions. I'm so used to here. I'll get out, just to be focused on what I need to do. Because Caleb Plant is a big fight. Uh, any fight is big, but that's really a big fight. And I just got out of here and clear my mind and stay focused on what I need to do.
Yeah, gotcha. Sometimes there is a positive and a negative for having, a gym there in your hometown. It's like, yeah, you don't really have to go far to train and anything like that. But, once news starts circulating around the city, then it's almost like that attention kind of like gets you away from what you need to do
Yeah,
or something like that. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So, um, so with that being said, I noticed that, like you said, you're like out and about. So wanted to see if you get back into it, what you need to do. Was there like anything else that you wanted to tell the fans out there about Anthony the Dog Dirrell that they might not know about?
Not at all. I mean, if you know me, you know my story. Just pay attention, man. The book is still being wrote.
Gotcha. Book still being wrote. So hey, listen, and that book definitely isn't closed. So y'all gotta stay tuned and keep on reading. You know what I'm saying? But big thanks going out to you here for taking the time to be here with us at the Boxing Source, and we'll definitely be catching up with you soon here, especially when you get a fight announced there for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, no doubt there, man, no doubt. That is the two-time super middleweight champion, Anthony the Dog Dirrell, here with the Boxing Source. Thank you very much there, man.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So there you have it. That was Anthony Dirrell, taking the time there to join us here on the Boxing Source Midweek Report. We hopefully will have, announcement here for him being in position to be in a fight. Like you said, man, he wants to see if he could get in there against the IBF super middleweight champion, Caleb Plant, if the whole thing with Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez ends up falling through. Of course, we had news over the past couple of days that looked like the negotiations between Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant kind of fell through because of the contract stipulations that were put out there. This was, reported first through ESPN that, all of these, all of the major things as far as like the terms were concerned were like agreed. The thing about like a rematch clause, stuff about, ring size, date, location, and things like that. But the thing that kind of like had this thing not go forward and basically be official and have, the signatures on was the whole thing about, the COVID issue. Like if, Caleb Plant happened to have COVID, then, Canelo would still be able to keep the date. But if by any chance, if Canelo tested positive for COVID, then the whole date would be scrapped. There wouldn't be a replacement opponent for Caleb Plant. And that, we kind of like had more of those little stipulations kind of like put on Caleb Plant's side out and instead of Canelo's side. So we got to see if it remains to be seen if anything happens with that when that is going to be straightened out or not. But also in the meantime, you also do have an upcoming fight card that's at the Prudential Center. Michael Polite Coffey is going to be taking on Jonathan Rice. Jonathan Rice was put in as a replacement opponent. Michael Coffey was originally scheduled to fight Gerald Washington, but as of a couple of days ago, Gerald Washington did test positive for COVID. So he has been removed from that card. So right now, that's what you have is Michael Coffey going up against Jonathan Rice. That's going to be part of a extended card that will be on Fox at the Prudential Center in Newark. You also have in welterweight Paul Crawl going up against Justin Deloach. You also have Anthony Dirrell's brother, Andre Dirrell, going up against Christopher Brooker as part of that card. And also you do have James Martin going up against Vito Melnicki Jr. in a rematch in the welterweight division. James Martin did score at the time, an upset win over Vito Melnicki. So, you do have that as part of this fight card as well. And there's going to be, multiple fights going down over at the Prudential Center there in Newark. So that is going to be one thing to, look ahead for. You also, do have a fight camp that's going to be coming up over in the UK as well. That's going to be the first fight camp. It's going to be, headlined by Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados. You're going to have multiple fighters under there. You also have, Adam Yildirim, who was, mentioned here in this interview. He's going to be in that particular fight card in the UK against Jack Cullen. You're going to also have Campbell Hatton, the son of Ricky Hatton, is going to be part of that fight card. You also have Anthony Fowler Jr. that's going to be on there. Featherweight champion Zhu Can will be fighting Lee Wood on that fight card. And also you have Thomas McCarthy against Chris Billum-Smith. So you're going to have a little bit of an active fight card coming up for this Saturday on July 31st as more fights start to roll in here as the summer continues. So we're looking forward to those fights. And like I said, we're gonna see if we could get some more guests on here on the Boxing Source, so that you'll be able to, catch them here through either the midweek report or through the podcast that's usually scheduled for Sunday night. So be sure to look out for all of that. We had like other things here that we may try to talk about here on this particular midweek report. You know what I'm saying? That I did want to revisit the whole thing with Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant, because we had like it looked like from last week, when I had the midweek report last week, I was talking about them having the thing where it was official for Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk to have their fight that's scheduled for September 25th. And it looked like at that time they were just a couple of steps away from making the fight between Canelo and Caleb Plant official for September 18th. But now it seems like that's kind of like up in the air. But one thing that I did kind of like say about that particular fight is that maybe this is just something where it's just, okay, this is something that they could work out. We've had something where, Canelo Alvarez and previous opponent, did have a little bit of issues in making the fight, or any type of, additional stipulations that took place. If that kind of like was a deterrent for the fight happening, and fight still, ended up happening. So here with Canelo and Caleb Plant, I mean, we're going to see if they could either iron out those differences, or if you're going to have, Canelo Alvarez move forward and not necessarily, fight Caleb Plant here and probably fight like another opponent. So we're going to see how that kind of like turns out here. But wanted to see if I could get some commentary on this here, on this news here. I got Mr. Mike Grady checking in here through the midweek report. So like I was saying, Canelo and Caleb Plant looks like it's at a freeze, so to speak, because of stipulation coming when it comes to COVID, that there's no real guarantee as far as like if the fight can actually happen at that date at that particular venue, particularly if Canelo comes down with COVID. So that looks like the major issue therefore that fight not happening. So what's your thoughts about that there, Mike, on that fight potentially having a freeze and not happening?
Excuse me if there's wind in the background. I'm walking around this park. But if it's not happening and it's because Canelo wanted everything and didn't sort of give him anything, where, I mean, I only heard rumors, but, from the way the rumors sounded, it sounded like, he wanted every detail to go his way. Could be propaganda, who knows? But if it's like, you can't wear red shorts, if it's stuff like that, like the stuff De La Hoya, everybody. I mean, everyone uses that. Don't get me wrong. At least the powerful people. But it sucks to hear that it's not getting made. I would hope the money in the issue is paying $10 million. I would imagine other people got paid close to that. Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you had like Jacobs that got paid around that range. You got like Sergey Kovalev that got paid around that range of $10 million. I think, Billy Joe Saunders pretty much got paid around that range. If not, then it was no lower than $7 million. But, the thing is with Caleb Plant, he's like kind of like saying everything else that he, was proposed, he basically agreed to. And he just, said that, he said, quote, "We're at 7.5 weeks from the fight, and we've lost valuable time that should be spent promoting and drug testing for a fight of this magnitude. You said he questions whether legacy or money is a real motive. You said that, they've been waiting for him to get done with his wedding, shooting the TV show, his golf tournament, and, now try to give him everything he wants and more to make the fight. He says, I'm more than willing, able, and ready to fight Canelo Alvarez on any date. Those are the real facts. And if anyone has something to say differently, we have the paperwork to prove it. So he's saying, listen, we got the receipts, that, we've kind of catered to, what Canelo's demands have been. And, we've seen Canelo, after his fight with, Billy Joe Saunders, you had the whole thing where they, he had his wedding. He was able to, have play some golf. We've seen videos with him and Stephen Curry out there in the golf course. And so it's like what Caleb Plant's doing is he's basically like sitting there twiddling his thumbs, being like, yo, I'm ready to get in the gym. This is a fight, that's a very big fight, that's a high stakes fight. So why is it that, I can't really get myself out there and ready to prepare, for this particular fight if they're just saying that we got this stipulation and that stipulation? If you're going to do it like that, then you might as well just go ahead and delay the fight and just say that we'll fight in October or something.
Does he need Canelo on board for him to start buckling down and get into it?
I don't know, because the thing is, it's like they want to go ahead and secure this date for September 18th, and you can't, even though like some people kind of like felt like with the previous announcements that were made for Canelo Alvarez and his fights against Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, that they came within about 6 or 5.5 weeks before the fight date. So it's like, are they trying to have some type of camp little issues, or try to say that, we want to be in there in camp for this amount of time, but at the same time, they want to go ahead and, not have their opponent prepare for the same amount of time against Canelo? I'm not sure. Maybe it's some mind games.
I mean, why wouldn't they want to give him the least amount of time and put him behind the 8 ball? Which is what I'm saying. If the tentative date is September 18th, do you really need Canelo on board to start buckling down and practicing like you have a fight for September 18th?
I mean, that's a good question. My thing would have been like, well, if you kind of like had an idea that what Canelo Alvarez's like fight schedule is, so to speak, like he pushes to try to have fights circulated around Cinco de Mayo weekend and also Mexican Independence Day weekend. So if you do know that, then they would like try to do something to the point of like, let's try to gear this thing or get this thing rolling to where we'll have this fight going on September 18th and whatnot. And then just like have these people in the camp, go ahead and do the promotional thing, have a press conference or whatever it is, just get that press conference up and over with, and then have the fighters back in the camp to prepare for a fight of this magnitude. It's supposed to be for the undisputed super middleweight championship. So we're going to see if that's going to happen. But if not, then, hey, maybe, like you said, we had our guest there, Anthony the Dog Dirrell. He said that he wanted to fight Caleb Plant. So he's like, hey, why don't we just go ahead and say if that fight falls through, let's have Caleb Plant in the ring there against Anthony Dirrell. But at the same time, you got Canelo Alvarez, who could fight basically anybody and get the same guarantee regardless of who he fights. So if he's guaranteed like a 40 million, he could have probably 40 million fighting against Dmitry Bivol or Artur Beterbiev or somebody like that. But with Caleb Plant, like he doesn't get that guarantee of 10 million fighting anybody, But that's like what the major hangup is at this particular point. Like, are they going to just go ahead and have this thing, finalized and stuff like that? Because there's so much that has to, gear up and start to get going, for the fight to like kind of stream, go seamlessly, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, he definitely won't get that guarantee without fighting Canelo. More incentive.
Yep, exactly. But the thing about it is that like, regardless of who Caleb Plant fights, like if he's able to get through that, then that fight with Canelo Alvarez is still there. Where he could still fight for the undisputed super middleweight title and maybe get an even bigger guarantee from it.
Yeah, maybe.
So that remains to be seen. But on top of that though, you also did have something where I wanted to get into the whole thing with Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter did like have his little thing here with the podcast, and that kind of like the thing with the Porter Way podcast is that it's posted on a certain day, but it's streamed live, a couple of days earlier or whatnot. So he did talk about that news about the WBO ordering him to fight Terrence Crawford, and that he said that of course he's definitely interested in having that fight, and that he wanted to get to a point where he was fighting in a fight that kind of like has the buzz of a Hagler Hearns. He mentioned like Hagler versus Hearns, something like that, and that everybody that was in the crowd was just in high anticipation of that fight happening, and he feels like a fight between him and Terrence Crawford would have that same type of feel, and that he's seeing if they could make that fight happen. I know that his other guests that were on there we're talking about maybe if they don't get anything negotiated within 30 days, that it goes to a purse bid. But word around the street is that you really don't want to see if it goes to purse bid, because there would be like probably one side that wouldn't be necessarily interested in putting a purse bid for the fight, because it's like, what's the point of putting up money for a fighter if they know if that particular fighter is not going to be under a promotional company within the next few months. So that kind of gives people an idea of like, okay, if this negotiation thing keeps going through, then if it goes to purse bid, then it might just stay up in the air. But also, if it does go to purse bid, what if somebody else out of the blue says, hey, if y'all hold the purse bid, we can put up money to bid for it and end up winning the bid, and then those fighters have to honor that particular purse bid, so to speak, or whatever it is. That could be another issue too. So I'm not sure how this is going to shape out. I think that it kind of like makes it a little bit of a mess, because people were talking about Crawford and Porter fighting for the past almost 12, 18 months, and nothing had really shaped up. So with the WBO making that order, it just kind of like seemed like it was weird at the time when it was done. So I mean, here we are, and it's been about almost a week since that announcement has been made, and of course we're not any closer to that fight happening. So my thing is, I just think that might come and go, and that Crawford end up fighting somebody else and Porter end up fighting somebody else, and then we'll see what happens with Terrence Crawford after the month of October. Particularly when Bob Arum is saying like he has like a couple of fight dates secured there for his top rank fight card. So I don't know what's going to happen here with Crawford and Porter, but I know Mike, you kind of were a critic of Terrence Crawford's resume, particularly at welterweight. So maybe there should be something in order for him to, go ahead and secure this fight against Shawn Porter, don't you think?
Yeah, ideally, but then you also have the risk reward. He can claim now that he is the boogeyman, but if he is beaten or score a tie with Shawn Porter, who has been beaten, on points by both Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, if he get a tie or get beaten, that era of invincibility, he can't go around saying I'm the best in the welterweight division. So risk versus reward. Sure, yeah, he should fight him and be like, look, I beat this guy too. I'm the top one. I got a claim, because I beat one of the top ones. But I think there's too much risk versus reward that would encourage him to ask himself, why should I take this risk?
That's the thing about it is that, there's like a good amount of risk involved in having a fight of this magnitude there. But, my thing with Shawn Porter, of course, for me, Shawn Porter is like one of my favorite fighters out there that's fighting right now, because he's the one that has that resume there at welterweight, fighting pretty much like everybody. He's fought Spence, he's fought Thurman, he's fought Danny Garcia, he's fought Kell Brook, he's fought Adrian Broner. Like when it comes to you're Dennis Ugas as well. So it's like every fighter that you could probably think about that is either currently in the top 10 in the welterweight division or kind of like was around there at one particular point, Shawn Porter has stepped in the ring against one of those guys. So that's going to be, the whole thing about if they're going to see about setting up that particular fight between Terrence Crawford and Shawn Porter is if, one side, I would say Top Rank, if they're going to be able to, properly accommodate both fighters when it comes to this particular fight. Because, they know that there's like a little bit of an incentive, so to speak, for Terrence Crawford. He doesn't necessarily have to, fight those type of fights. He basically gets a minimum guarantee, of $4 million or so, regardless of who he fights. So it's like, why even do that when you kind of like could fight just about anybody else for around the same thing? Wanted to get in another guest here real quick. Big ups to YSM Sports Media checking in here. You'll go ahead and subscribe to YSM Sports Media on YouTube there, man. What's good?
Hey, what's good, JR? Is that my man? Is that Mike?
Yeah, yep, it's Mike.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Mike? Hey, what's up, Mike?
Not much. How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good, man.
Yep. JR didn't tell us he didn't send the link when we had the guest on. He sent it after the guest left.
Oh, Dirrell left already?
Yeah, he only had like about 15 minutes he could be on.
Oh, cool.
Is he
in Newark with his brother?
He's over in Flint. He's over in Flint. He hasn't made that trip over to Newark yet.
Oh, okay. Fans are biased, right? Fans are biased and ill-informed. And the media doesn't help. Okay, so I just want to ask you something, JR, and Mike too. Can you name me one pay-per-view that's ever happened with a step-in opponent on U.S. soil?
Never happened.
Mike, I think one of them Top Rank cards might have had something screwy like that. But I think it was probably Terrence Crawford had a step-in opponent. When I think about it, I'm just playing. I can't think of it.
I'm saying pay-per-view. That's something that I've never heard of. That's something that is just I'm stuttering because it makes no sense. So you're telling me, right, that people are blaming Caleb Plant for a Fox and Al Heyman situation because it's clear as day. Why am I going to pay you $40 million to fight a who the fuck when how I make my money is predicated on if people want to see this fight or not, if people want to pay $80 for this fight. So if you're fighting Anthony Dirrell, who's going to pay $80 to see that? So, but I'm still going to guarantee you $40 million, and I'm not going to get ROI. So I'm going to lose money. Nobody's going to do that. No one, no businessman in their right mind would do that. But somehow Caleb Plant is a duck. He's scared of Canelo. Weird shit, man.
So is that the situation that's on the table that he could potentially fight Dirrell or something? Because they couldn't agree?
Basically what's happening is Canelo wants a clause in the contract that states that if Caleb Plant gets hurt or sick, that he can have a step-in opponent, and they still had to guarantee him the $40 million that he was going to make against Caleb Plant. But if Canelo were to get sick or hurt, Caleb Plant has to wait for him.
Yeah, and I mean that's that's kind of like the whole ordeal that's like hanging up this particular fight, and Caleb Plant ain't gonna go for that, and Al Hammond ain't gonna go for that, So it's like, what is the team Canelo doing in this particular case? This is almost similar to the whole thing that he had with Callum Smith before that fight took place or whatnot. So it's almost like Canelo being Canelo, according to some people.
It's always something, though, Johnny. Billy Joe, the ring, Triple G. What was the situation with Triple G? Oh, he tested hot. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, even with the negotiations for that, the split for that, they had a serious back and forth about for that second fight.
It's always something with Canelo Alvarez, yo. It's always something. He's always looking for the maximum amount of leverage, and I get it, but fans can't be mad at the other guy for not giving in. It's like, oh, well, if you want to fight Canelo, you got to do whatever he says. Like, bro, he's not bringing in money like that. I'm sorry, he's not.
Yeah, it's not really absolute guarantee that he's able to rake in the dough as far as like his fights are concerned. So, even here in this particular instance with the pay-per-view, like the question becomes, like, with it being Caleb Plant, like, what do they expect the numbers to be for Canelo Alvarez to be on a Fox pay-per-view against a Caleb Plant? Especially, I mean, it was going to be for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world, but how would Fox be able to construct a promotional package to get the most out of a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant? Because thing is, of course, they would be able to get the gate receipts. That wouldn't have been much of a problem for them. But what they're concerned about is, what are my pay-per-view returns going to be? Is it going to be something like more than what? 500K pay-per-view buys? Like, what are they expecting having Canelo Alvarez on their Fox, pay-per-view telecast?
We haven't seen Canelo Alvarez on pay-per-view in what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, it's been since Canelo Golovkin too.
Yeah, see, he did 1 million buys with that, and then after that, it was just primarily on his own. Now, I know one way you can get your return on investment. I know it's like foolproof, bro. Put a MAGA hat on Caleb Plant. Watch that fight sell.
Yeah, man. But what's the name gonna claim black people or something? How's it gonna work?
But I don't know, man, because we're talking about Caleb Plant is more of like a Bubba Sparks or a Paul Wall type of guy. You know what I'm saying? So how is that going to work?
I'm 100% sure Caleb Plant grew up with a dude named Tyreek, Basil, a Jaquan. Like that's probably
Yeah,
one of those guys or his kid's godfather.
yeah, yeah, man. Like he grew up with a few Tyrones and Jalils and something. You know what I'm saying? But what do you say he's from? Cashville, not Nashville, but
Nashville,
Cashville. Yeah, like oh
Nashville,
man, like
Tennessee, Temple.
yeah. So yeah, it would be real, different to try to get him to, kind of like switch up his persona or how he is, man. What did you say? Maybe he needs to come out to uh some country music or something, and be like that, and then maybe he'll get a whole bunch of fans. But I don't know, man.
That'll definitely get the people going. That'll definitely get the people going. Man.
Yeah, probably could. It's just that are they going to be able to do that? Right off the bat. So who knows? Um, since did have you just on here, man. Were you able to catch the whole thing with Shawn Porter and Rolly Romero? Because Rolly Romero started to call folks out, and he said that there were some phonies in the boxing game, and the two fighters that he pointed out were Tank Davis and Devin Haney. And I'm like, well, let's see if he would be able to get himself in position to fight one of those guys. You know, we kind of like push for him to be like the biggest heel out there right now, but would they want to put Rolly Romero right in the ring against the Tank Davis for like Tank Davis's next fight, especially with Tank Davis saying that he wants to fight again this year?
Nah, I feel like it's gonna be Isaac Gonzalez that gets that fight. Rolly is a guy, and this is similar to wrestling. Rolly is a guy that they're building, like they're going to build him into the heel, and still hasn't yet maximized his Ric Flair, Hollywood Hogan-ness.
Yeah,
It's Triple H.
It's Triple H. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he needs to get in there like the honky tonk man. Now, I'm going way too far back with that one. Maybe like The Rock during his heel days, when he was with the corporation, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe,
that
yeah,
was the
because
epitome of heel.
so I don't know. Maybe they need to build him up like that. They could match him up pretty good. Get some opponents that'll work for him to, just do what he needs to do, where he doesn't really have to push himself that much, and still like end up getting a knockout or a stoppage victory, and then just build up his character. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like you already got somebody imitating Ric Flair and Blair Cobb, so I mean maybe we need like another heel or something.
Yeah, I don't believe Blair Cobbs when he does it though.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I'm saying? I believe Rolly, yo. I believe that Rolly thinks he's a bull. You gotta peep it. He thinks that he's the game.
But it's like his voice sometimes. Like you could like like when you look, like you said, when you look at him, it's almost like you just don't like him.
Yeah, he got a face you want to punch.
See, so I mean, why not go ahead and continue that continue that momentum? build up that, build up that persona, make him, be the next real heel. Because, we haven't really necessarily had like a high profile heel since Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather had to adjust to become the heel, pretty much in the middle of his prime. So,
Like
why
The
not
Rock.
do it right now here with, with Rolly Romero, while he's building up his record.
Yeah, man. Like have him smack popcorn out of the fan's hand or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah,
have
like,
him just be just a douche
take
about it.
somebody's drink out of their hands, something like that. Take
Yeah.
somebody's drink and then drink it.
So I hear y'all talking and it sounds real good, but would y'all pay money to see an extra regular dude who's probably more extra than what's my boy name who got beat by Madonna? He ain't been
Adrian
in
Broner?
Adrian Broner. Y'all don't forgot his name. He's more regular. Adrian Broner could probably beat the guy. If Adrian Broner can't beat him, I would feel really. I'd feel some type of way about Adrian Broner.
Nah, Adrian Burner was actually good at boxing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Rolly's not good at boxing. Like, but Rolly, like, AB is captivating. Rolly is just a natural douche that I would pay good money to watch somebody beat the shit out of. Boxing needs Rolly Romero, yo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. I mean, with the sport of boxing, it's like either you have somebody that you would, really like to see, or you just want to see him lose. And Rolly has that little persona and his mannerisms. So, like, you want to see that man lose, And
Exactly.
so, like right now, at this particular point, they have to, get things situated to where, they'll be able to, like I said, match him up well, build up his record, build up his interest, and then you have him in a fight, that could generate, a good amount of money, or probably more money than if you matched them up with one of those top guys in that division right now. So why put him in there against those guys right now when you could, just have him sitting there waiting in the wings, and then, go ahead and get after him.
I'm gonna mention Adrian Broner one more time. So Adrian Broner done lost like 4 or 5 fights, right? But
Yeah.
people are still maybe not so much now, but at some point, even when Broner lost, people were still eager to watch him. Do you think after Ramiro loses his first 2 fights, somebody's really gonna be eager to watch him? Like fans.
Hmm. It depends on when it happens. Like if it comes within the next 2 or 3 fights or so, then his overall interest will, pretty much be out of the window. But if it's like after he's like built up a record of like 24-0, 25-0, and says like maybe he ends up getting a world title or gets a vacant title or something, or so to speak, and then has a fight with one of those guys, then maybe people will still be able to see what happens with him, depending on the results of what happens when he has his first loss. Because that was the key thing about with Adrian Broner when he had his loss to Marcos Maidana. He did lose, but he didn't get knocked out. He made it to through all 12 rounds. He was able to get through that particular fight, and people were still interested in him after that fight took place. So with Rolly Romero, they can't like put him in a position to where he goes ahead and gets knocked out, not spark out. Then all of his interest goes out the window.
In the Broner fight with Maradona, if they'd have had a 15-round fight, my money would have been on Adrian Broner. Because he was coming on, he just got clipped again toward the end. But
You're right about that. He hurt Madonna. And Madonna
Yeah.
even admitted it that he hurt him. What round was that? Was it 10?
I think it was like round 10, he said.
Yeah.
But the difference is that Adrian Broner didn't want to lose. That's the I still have my O and I haven't seen myself lose, and I still want it. We haven't seen Adrian Broner push himself like that since he didn't want to lose that fight. And after, even though he lost that fight, I had so much like hope for him because I'm like, man, he just showed me something. Like, yeah, he lost the fight, but the man was coming on. People say, okay, he got knocked down, he got whatever, but he changed the momentum of the fight and he turned it on toward the end. Like he started winning the fight. I mean, I think he won most of the second half rounds when he didn't get hurt. But yeah, I was hoping that he could show more of that, but it seemed like he always sort of not pulling the trigger.
The issue with him is, number one, he should have never even been at 47 at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been at 140, but he was chasing big fights, and he just, his head got too big. He went to 47 and fought a pillow puncher, and arguably lost that fight. I thought he won, but arguably lost that fight. And then he just went ahead and faced a really, really big puncher. So it didn't make sense. It was a bad move, and I think Al should have vetoed that. But it seemed like Al lets Adrian Broner be Adrian Broner.
But if you know he can't make the weight because of, discipline issues, then what do you do then?
Well, he couldn't make 135 anymore, right, JR? But
yeah, he couldn't. Yeah,
but
he was
140 but 140 was right there.
Yeah, I mean it was there. He could have had like a few fights at 140. Depending on what the time frame, they probably would have still had some good enough fights for him to have at 140 pounds before most pretty much all of those guys that were at 140 moved up to 147. Like you already had like Denny Garcia and a couple of other guys that moved up from 140, but you still had like a few other guys that were still there that that he could have fought. Maybe like a Lipinets type of guy, or someone like that would have still been there at 140 for Adrian Broner to fight. But he just felt like he wanted to see if he could get those money fights at 147.
I got a controversial statement. With the weakness of 140, Adrian Broner could have fought for the undisputed title. I don't really believe that, but I'm saying with the, is that the same one with Ndongo?
Yeah, it was the same one with Ndongo, but it just gotta depend on that time period, though.
Oh, that's right.
Listen to me. I want y'all to listen to me. Terrence Crawford versus Adrian Broner at 35. I ain't sure Terrence Crawford wins that fight.
And the thing about it is, they probably could have had some type of fight like that in 2015. That fight could have happened around that time, maybe. Who knows? But that was kind of like way back. Either that or, the thing is, Broner went up he shot up the welterweight back in 2013. Like he still could have had like a good amount of stuff going down, in 2013. Like I said, Denny Garcia was there in 2013. He had his fight against, his fight where he was part of that card against with that Mayweather Canelo card. Going up against Matisse. Lucas Matisse Garcia was September 2013. So he could have been out there still campaigning at 140 pounds against those guys. But he decided to go up to 147.
How would Terrence Crawford have done against Danny Garcia's 140 run?
I still think I think Terrence Crawford beats him, but I think Terrence Crawford has to get off the floor to do it.
Yeah.
Danny was punching at 40. You know what I mean? He was punching on people.
Yeah.
And we all seen Bud do the little wiggle wiggle. That that
With
little
the
flamingo.
stanky
You
leg.
seen him? I seen.
That's what they call it, the
Yeah,
stanky leg.
I seen Gamboa make him do the stanky leg.
Yeah.
I seen Meat Machine make him do the stanky leg. So I don't know.
You know, like I was saying, I mean, you still had guys there like the Matisse's, the Lamont Petersons out there at 140 pounds that, you know, Adrian Broner could have fought there. And that was my thing, is that, like, when we talk about those runs, bringing up Terrence Crawford here, you talk about the run like Danny Garcia had. Like, he beat Eric Morales twice. He beat Kendall Hope, beat Amir Khan, beat Zeb Judah, beat, you know, Lucas Matisse, you know. So
I got a question for y'all before I go.
All right.
Whose 140 run was more impressive? Terrence Crawford or Timothy Bradley?
What do you gotta ask that question?
I want somebody to say it.
I've said it so many times. I say it all the time. We crowned Terrence Crawford.
Bradley.
We crowned Terrence Crawford for his 140 run, but Tim Bradley, Danny Garcia, shit. What's them old guys that
Taylor?
Say it again.
Josh Taylor.
Josh Taylor, there you go. Josh Taylor, his run was better than Terrence Crawford. Shit, you might even say Regis Parkway run was better than Terrence Crawford.
I'm sorry. Yo, Timothy Bradley. The only fighter Timothy Bradley ever lost to was Manny Pacquiao. Even though I thought he lost to Ruslan Provatnikov. I thought he did.
Mm-hmm.
But the only fighter he ever lost to was Manny Pacquiao. So a lot of people have a certain view of Timothy Bradley. I felt like he tested himself before he got the top rank.
Yeah.
And he was in a position where he had to fight. You know, Bob keeps you on that side of the street, but Terrence Crawford resume don't come nowhere near. It's not even on the same block, not the same neighborhood, not the same zip code as Timothy Bradley.
Yeah, not even the same.
Not at all.
But, you know, even with you know, Bradley's extended career there at 140, like he's fought Junior Witter, Kendall Holt, Nate Campbell, Lamont Peterson, Devin Alexander, and Joel Casamayor. So, I mean, just that right there, you know.
You can wait. You can still keep going. Remember, he fought Ruslan at 140, right? Was that 47?
Provatnikov, that was at 147.
His 147.
Even with the 147,
his
like,
147 run is better than Bud's, man.
Like, yes, I mean, he had the Marquez, Pacquiao, Provatnikov,
what's the dude he knocked out?
Vargas, Bam Bam Rios.
You know? Does Rios beat everybody on Terrence Crawford's? Was that 147? With Rios 147. Okay, I can't ask that. What I was gonna ask was, does Rios beat all the guys on his 140 run?
I don't know. I forgot. Like,
I don't know. I don't think he beats Postal.
Yeah. I don't think he beats Postal.
Okay.
So,
but definitely in Dungo.
Ass, bro.
The undisputed fight. He can beat. If Rios fought him, Rios could be on the field right now. That's what we're saying.
Yo,
Dongo is worse. The way that Grady views Julius Sandongo is the way that YSM views.
I'm about to cop a plea real fast.
Views who?
Maurice Hooker is better than Julius Sandongo, bro.
Of course he is.
Sandongo is garbage.
Of course Maurice Hooker is better.
Oh no. Oh my God, yo.
Yo, I gotta admit that. I showed my homie trainer. He didn't know who Julius Sandongo was. And I'm like, yeah, Terrence Crawford gonna fight him for undisputed. I'm like, boy, unified champ. it was the knockout over the European guy, and he saw the knockout. Was like, oh, he's garbage. Because the punch he had to pull the punch all the way back. He was like, "Yo, you see how he threw that shit?" He said, "Man, he's trash." Bud beat him like a stepchild, bro. That was embarrassing.
It was like a person who didn't belong.
Right. It was like he didn't have no chance there against Terrence Crawford, like no chance whatsoever. But I mean, it just goes off like how Ndongo built up his career up to a point, and then he got the win in order to, become a world champion. And then after that was his first fight. His first defense was against Terrence Crawford. So that's how he had it. But yeah, just going off that continuing down the midweek report, I wanted to jump on something. One thing that's come out is that Bob Arum kind of released what his fall schedule is going to be. That includes a fight that's coming up for the WBO super featherweight title. Is they're going to have Jamel Herring going up against Shakur Stevenson, and that is going to be planned for November 13th. He also says that by the end of that month that Josh Taylor is going to make his defense of the super lightweight titles against Jack Catterall. He also still was talking about October 9th for that, date for Fury Wilder 3, and that Beterbiev is going to be fighting, somebody else, while Joe Smith Jr. is going to make a defense against Umar Salamov. So you do have a few fight cards that are planned for Top Rank in the fall and, going into the winter months. But I think most people are just waiting on to see what happens with the October 9th card with Fury and Wilder 3. They still say that all of those fights that were planned to take place, that was supposed to be July 24th, that they're going to be on this same card on October 9th. So you're going to still see Jared Anderson on there. You're still going to see the thing there with Efe Ajagba, going up. That's going to be going up against, his opponent there when it comes to what was it? He was gonna get in there, and this thing is getting me. That he was going in there against Frank Sanchez, right? And that you're gonna have Robert Helenius against Adam Kalnaki there as far as that rematch. That was also going to be part of the card. So they're delaying all of those fight camps for each one of those fights until October 9th. So that's pretty much what the schedule is planned for that. So that's still pay-per-view. I'm still waiting on other news that's coming down as far as other fight cards that are going down the pipe. So we do have that. As far as once we get news of that, then you'll know through the Boxing Source on the social media platforms. But outside of that, big up to Anthony Dirrell for taking the time to join us here earlier. He was out in the move, on the go and stuff like that. So I was able to catch a good few 15 minutes or so with him. For those that missed it live, you can catch it through the replay here on YouTube. And if anything else goes down, you'll be sure to know it on this YouTube channel. Big up to Mike Grady and for Jamil of YSN Sports Media for joining us here live. And we'll be right back at it with the Boxing Source Radio Show. It'll be back on a Sunday. It won't be on a Monday. It will be on a Sunday this time around. So y'all be sure to catch that. But big ups to everybody that joined here on the Midweek Report. And we will be seeing y'all later. Until then, peace out.